Got another good video for you here. This one is by Martel Metellus. Anyway, this guy, I found him. He's been a really interesting guy. Says a lot of really good things. And again, I'm here just to plug in the biblical aspects of this, the spiritual behind the physical, the why behind the what. Let's take a look.
You know, it's crazy when you look at men these days, the men who have completely disregarded the idea of women altogether. They basically villainize women. They say women is bad, don't deal with them. No. Right? That's not true, right? I don't think women are the problem right now. There's a lot of bad apples. Trust me, there are a lot that you cannot be around. But to completely withdraw the idea of being involved with a woman because you're on your self-improvement journey. It's very interesting because I'm going to say something that you haven't heard before. Being with a woman is the easiest way to almost ensure your masculinity, to make sure that you're actually a masculine man. Because the reality is you're never going to know when you're stuck in your room trying to do self-improvement rituals. You will never fucking know. You'll never know who you truly are and how you can lead and how you can actually maneuver through chaos until you get in those situations. That's why the men who have a lot of experience with women, they understand and they know how to actually manage that situation positively. They always do really well in life. They always end up exceeding. Always. Because life is no different. Dealing with life is no different than dealing with women. Because it's a direct reflection of your internal self. It's a direct reflection. And the reality is a lot of men are feminine, right? We have a masculinity issue. And
So what he's saying here is absolutely true, that God created women to be a mirror, that she is to mirror us. Your woman is there to mirror you so that you can look at yourself in real time, have real time data. You can pay attention to the things that she says, the things that she does, how she acts, her emotions. Everything tells you about who you are as a man. She was put here to expose you, to reveal you, and to be a helpmeet. The way that she is a helpmeet is to be opposite of you, to oppose you, so that you can see where your flaws are and that you can fix them in real time. He is absolutely correct. So you got to think about this, man. If you're going to abstain from relationships, or if you're going to run from marriage, or if you're going to hide in your marriage, how are you ever going to see your flaws? How are you ever going to address your flaws? This is the spiritual gym. The woman, the relationship with the woman is the spiritual gym. This is where you grow your spiritual muscles. You can't be a leader if you don't have anybody following you. He's absolutely correct. And it's women are not the problem, men are the problem. He is spot on.
specifically, we have a dark masculinity issue. Because what people don't understand, there's light masculinity and dark masculinity. When I talk about dark masculinity, I'm not talking about the crazy like villain arc or like the tyrants or like the guys who are like immature, because that's honestly dark femininity playing around. Guys who are like super crazy ego driven. Like, it's good to have a great ego, which we're going to talk about, but like they go way beyond that and they're almost bitter and resentful and they hate everybody, right? That's dark femininity, right? Because that's a feminine trait. They always want crazy revenge against people. It's good to get revenge, but get revenge on yourself. Don't get revenge on other people, right? But a lot of those guys, they tend to have that dark femininity, right? They get really aggressive. They get super mad. Wrong, right? But the dark masculinity I'm talking about is the one that can basically be integrated with light masculinity. What is light masculinity? That's the nice, being kind, being friendly, being a person who's nice to be around, being somebody who helps other people. You have to have both. That's the thing. Masculinity, there's a spectrum, right? And the problem is too many men have leaned onto light masculinity and have never dipped their toes into the whole dark masculine side of things. And you may be asking, Martel, well, what is dark masculinity? You have to understand, everyone has the dark triad traits, which I'm sure you've heard about. If you haven't heard about it, you know now, right? The dark masculine traits involve Machiavellianism, they involve narcissism, and they involve psychopathy, right? Those are the three things that every single human being has, and it manifests itself in different forms of sexuality. So masculine and feminine. It manifests itself in both ways, and both sides use it either positively or negatively. Now, the dark masculine exposes these things, and you can use that to basically bring that in together to become a complete man, to where you don't get taken advantage of, to where you get everything that it is that you want, all of that, right? But you have to be able to have that dark masculine side to you in a healthy way. Not that you go and you become a fucking, I always say that, be a villain, be a villain. But I also realize that some people will never read between the lines, and they'll never actually understand what it is I'm talking about beyond the surface, right? It sounds good for marketing. It sounds good to catch your attention. But if you don't understand it correctly, it can be detrimental. Because the reality is, to have the dark masculine, you have to be able to master those three things, those three dark triad traits, and you have to use them for good. So I'll give you some examples, right? When it comes to narcissism, narcissism is rooted in ego, right? Focusing on yourself. Everybody is innately narcissistic. Now, another thing you have to understand, narcissistic personality disorder is wrong, because that's where your entire masculine personality is that one trait, which then makes you a diagnosed narcissist.
Let's think about this here. So we talked about how meekness is power under restraint. And this idea of power under restraint, you have to have power in order to restrain it. And narcissism is the self or the ego. And scripture says to love your neighbor as yourself. Well, if you hate yourself and you have no self respect, how can you love your neighbor as yourself? You see that? And then understanding that when scripture's talking to or when scripture is talking, it's talking to men. Scripture was written by men for men, and then men are to teach or to instruct, correct, and reprove their wives. So when it says to love your wife or to love your neighbor as yourself, you have to remember that as we esteem ourselves and love ourselves by correcting, instructing, and reproving, going through that process ourselves with Christ, that we should do the same thing as with our neighbor. And if you hate yourself, or if you're indifferent towards yourself, then you're going to obviously not be able to love your neighbor either. Okay. So we are to esteem ourselves highly. We are a representative of God. We are an ambassador of God on earth. We are, as men, we are chosen to be his ambassadors, and meaning that we should hold ourselves in high esteem. So, yes, there is a form of narcissism there, and that God holds himself God is very, very much one who loves adoration and worship, and he made man in his image. So think about that.
Right? Same with psychopaths. Psychopaths are literally all of their emotion, everything that they're in is literally rooted in just psychopathy. Like all of their traits revolve around that. And then you have Machiavellianism, which is basically people who manipulate other people, right? All of their traits, everything that they focus on is related to that. And they do all of this stuff to harm other people. Now, when you want to integrate these things, for example, with narcissism, like I was talking about, that's taking care of your body, taking care of your mind, putting yourself first, making sure that you are dialed in. That's super, super important. And you may be asking, Martel, well, how does this have anything to do with women? Well, a lot of men, they like to go the opposite, right? They put the woman first. And then they put all of their needs, they put all of their things on the back end, not knowing that they're the leader in the relationship, and they have to start to actually use those traits to be able to sustain the relationship and actually retain the desire of that woman, because no woman wants you to just focus on her. Because if you focus on her, you lose the mission. You lose what it is that you're doing, which means you stop making money, you stop going to the gym, you stop being in shape, you literally stop everything that was attractive about you in the first place. You start to get shy, you start to get timid, you don't hang out with the guys anymore to where you have a social life. Now you're stuck inside. You become a dunce, bro. I like that word, a dunce.
Okay, so think about this. If a husband and a wife become one, the husband cleaves to his wife and they become one, how is it that your wife loses by you being narcissistic, in the sense, not the way that psychology would put it out there, but by you being focused on you? The better you do and the better you are, the more focused that you are, the more disciplined that you are, the if you are elevated, what's going to happen with your wife? Your wife is going to be elevated. You got to think about this. If you're focused on her, then you're not somebody to be feared and respected. You're not somebody who has power. You have no authority. You're weak. And therefore, she is going to be weak. Do you see that? The mirror image. And a weak woman is going to show itself in anger, bitterness, resentment, all those things. That's how it's going to come out. So, a strong man, a disciplined man, is going to discipline, correct, instruct, and reprove his wife and his children. And as he's disciplined, his income is going to do better, his health is going to do better, everything about his life is going to do better. Therefore, everything that he is improving and that is becoming better is naturally going to make his wife and his children better too. He's naturally going to improve the status of the house, the income, everything is going to improve because he's focused on himself.
You become a dunce to where, like, bro, there's no liveliness to you anymore because you don't care about yourself anymore. You care about the woman, and women will tell you one thing, but they'll also act a completely different way. So they may tell you that they like that you're focusing on them and all this, but secretly they're resenting you because they know that you're dropping your mission off. So again, they can't fulfill their fantasy of seeing you as the leader, of seeing you as the person who handles all of the hard shit, because you got soft, because you stopped caring about yourself, you stopped maintaining yourself, you stopped growing, you stopped evolving, you stayed the fucking same. If not, you got worse. So that's narcissism. There's healthy narcissism. I think every man should. I think that's what's lacking right now the most. The men who actually deserve to have narcissism don't have it, and the men who are the fake dark masculine are basically abusing that shit to make print tons of money. All the gurus that you see, a lot of them are massively narcissistic. Massively. It allows for them to make a lot of money, but a lot of them, their entire identity roots around narcissism, and they end up having narcissistic personality disorder, where it gets to the point where they're not doing what they want to do for good. They're just doing it to be able to get everything that they want. They just absorb, 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 absorb. They give nothing, right? No value. It's just take, 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 zero give. That's narcissistic personality disorder, right? Then we have Machiavellianism, right? Machiavellianism is interesting because you may say, well, Martel, what's the good in manipulating people, right? It's not just about manipulation, it's also about understanding human nature and being able to create a frame around everything that you do. If you've ever heard of frame control, if you haven't heard about it, you hear about it now. Frame control is the most important thing you can do when it comes to social relationships, when it comes to intimate relationships, when it comes to anything. You have to be a man who can control the frame and allow for people to follow your narrative. You have to be able to bend people's minds to follow your narrative. And again, you may be
A better word for manipulation would be motivation. So a good leader motivates people to move in the direction that he's going, and he creates the framework by which that happens. That's manipulation has got a bad, it's got a bad rap. I like the idea of motivation better. We motivate people to move in our direction as leaders.
saying, well, Martel, that's mean, that's bad, that's not good. No, it's great, because if you have a positive narrative, all you're doing is you're influencing and you're persuading and you're
Motivating.
positively manipulating people to follow a positive narrative that will ultimately help them at the end. right? So it's the same with women. It's like when you are in a relationship with a woman, it's the same thing. You have to understand how her mind works so that you know how you can create a frame. You can control the frame of the relationship to where you are the leader. You are basically the container that, and women are naturally chaotic, so they can be a chaos. They can enjoy the chaos because they love emotional roller coasters in the frame that you put. It's manipulation, but it's positive manipulation because it creates order in the relationship. If you don't have this, you become a walkover. People just walk over you. People take advantage of you. You become manipulated. And then the people who manipulate you will resent you for even being manipulated in the first place.
And this is really good right here. Your wife will resent you for being able to manipulate you. So if you think about this, a lot of the men that I coach that have sexless marriages, they their wife tells them, "Oh, we're going on a girls' weekend trip. We're going to Las Vegas, and it's just me and the girls, and we're just gonna, And if you're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's fine," means you're really naive, and she can pull the wool over your eyes. She's not going to respect you. And as I've said before, that women will not sleep with men they don't respect. If you're married and your wife is not sleeping with you, it is squarely because she does not respect you. She doesn't respect you because you can be manipulated, because you are naive, because you believe whatever she tells you. You don't call her out on things. You don't correct the disrespect. You allow disrespect. You provide no framework. You provide no boundaries. So you're going to be resented and hated. She's going to be bitter. She's going to be resentful towards you because of this.
So then that goes with Machiavellianism. Now we talk about psychopathy, right? What's psychopathy? Again, the psychopathic traits, right? What do psychopaths like to do? Psychopaths like control, right? Psychopaths enjoy, and they're super obsessive, right? They're super obsessive. You see a lot of psychopaths are stalkers, they do all this crazy shit. They're completely emotionally detached, right? That's like crazy psychopath. They're completely emotionally detached. Now, how do you use psychopathy? Because you have it inside of you, it's a dark masculine trait. How do you use that to your advantage in relationships and in life? The reality is, you need to be the person who is not emotional. You as a man, you should never be emotional, hyper emotional. You should show emotions, of course, because that makes you human. But you shouldn't be hyper emotional. Nothing should rattle you. Nothing should be sitting there like your decisions should not be based on emotions, they should be based on logic. Because every man starts to get super hyper emotional and they fuck up. That's why you see a lot of men hitting women. Why do they hit women? Because they got super emotional.
Yeah, this is definitely anger is a female emotion. The act of getting angry, blowing up, hitting, screaming, throwing things. A man that is even in his temper and even in his wording, and who is very tempered in how he speaks and how he conducts himself, is a scary man. To a woman, they want, and again, I've talked about this at great lengths, that women will do things deliberately to see if they can get a response out of you. They'll deliberately try to do things to evoke a response. And what they're really looking for, A, to see if you can handle it, but B, to feel the strength from you when you don't respond out of anger, when you don't respond screaming and yelling, and when you're even in your temperament, and you're calm and you're cool, and you're not able to be moved off center. And basically imagine the water pounding into the rocks on the seashore, and the water's just pounding into the rocks, and the rocks not moving. Okay, she will do things at times to see if you'll it's multifaceted, to see if you'll respond. Because if you respond with anger and you blow up, it shows you're emotional, A, shows you're invested, B, shows that you care more than you should, and you look weak. You show your cards. The man that is not moved Think about it. If you went and told God, "Hey, I'm done with you. I'm going over here to worship Buddha or whatever," and God threw a massive fit and was like stomping and throwing a fit and this and that, would that really be a God worth following and submitting to and obeying? I mean, you just think about this. It's common sense if you really think about it. Um, Strength is in the silence. Strength is in the cool, calm, framed man that like this one guy told me a long time ago, wise man told me that a man has to learn to become comfortable in the uncomfortable. And the only way you do that is by putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. Deliberately, when I say this, deliberately say things that you know your wife is going to get irritated about. Like, in other words, if she's saying something and you know that disagreeing with her is going to make her mad, disagree with her. Roll the grenade down the aisle, and then, you know, she so what if she gets mad? So what if she gets angry? Let her do it, and then don't be phased by how she responds. Be outcome independent. Don't be dependent on the outcome of that situation. This is what being a man is all about, is saying the things that we say, saying, men are harsher, men are more disagreeable. That's our nature, and women have become more disagreeable. Women have become more the narcissistic in the things that men traditionally are. They have become that. In the absence of masculinity, they become masculine. But back to the topic, is they want to feel your strength, and the only way you can feel the strength is for her to put something out there. She puts something out there to see how you respond, and when you respond in a masculine way, she's like, oh wow, that's attractive, I like that. That makes her feel something. Remember, you can make a woman feel anything but bored, and you make her feel something when she does something and you're not moved, and you don't become emotional.
Because you as a man, you're already dangerous by being a man in the first place. You're stronger than a woman. You're naturally more aggressive. So the people who don't have that in check, the nice guys, why do nice guys start to hit women? Well, because they get super emotional and they just
Mm-hmm.
do something that they never thought that they would do. So if you can harness that psychopathic trait, you can start to understand how to actually detach emotionally from certain decisions that you make so that you start making the right decisions. It's the same in business. In business, it's not an emotional sport, it's a non emotional sport. If you want to be good at making money, if you want to be good at running businesses, you better not be hyper emotional. So you have to take on that psychopathic trait. And it's the same with obsession, right? You can use obsession positively by essentially being obsessed with your mission, chasing your mission, right? That's how you do it. You reorganize all of these dark triad traits into positive directions. And that's how you fully integrate the dark masculine with the light masculine, because you were already born light masculine. You already had that in you. Society has already programmed you with light masculine. You're at a point where you're way too overextended on that side. And you have to get to the point where you're in the middle. But to get to the middle, you have to rock all the way to the other side. And while you're rocking to the other side of dark masculinity, you have to now integrate all of those traits from light masculinity to now be a full spectrum man, to where now you're complete.
What he's saying is you have to experience the dark side. You have to fully experience the dark side. You've already fully experienced the light side. He's saying you have to fully experience the dark side in order to swing back in to have that evening of the two. You have to know how to be dangerous in order to restrain that danger. You have to be able to know. You have to be able to know it in order to restrain it.
Now you can never be walked on. Now you can hold frame in a relationship, and you can hold frame in conversations, social conversations that you have. And now you're obsessed with your mission. You don't care about what anybody thinks. Someone could literally tell you that it's the worst thing that you're ever doing. You don't give a fuck, and you do it anyway because you know it's good for you. You know that's what your mission is. You want to go start that business? Nobody can tell you otherwise. Your girl can't tell you otherwise. Nobody can tell you. You go and fucking do it. That's the dark triad traits. That's a dark masculine man. That's the healthy way to apply this shit. I'm not here to teach you unhealthy ways to do it to get you in trouble, to get you going to prison or doing some fucked up shit to people. No, you have to be able to do this because there are too many guys now that are so focused on being nice, being kind, and there are some guys who go so far out of that because they've been scarred so much that they go way too far into the dark masculine and they never reintegrate back that light masculine with the dark. So now they become hyper bitter people who, by the way, are hyper emotional because here's the other thing. Each one of those traits, besides psychopathy, actually, two of those traits are hyper emotional. And you could even argue psychopathy is hyper emotional to a certain extent. Because the hyper emotion is having no emotion. You have so much non-emotion that you're disconnected from human existence to the point where you don't even know how to maneuver with people. So it's very important that you can bring both of these things together and be a complete man. And that's essentially what I do in my program, my mentorship program. If you're interested in being a full spectrum man.
So here's the thing. The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. Okay, so I want you to think about this in regards to your wife picking a fight with you, saying things about you, and you got to lay down the line. You got to put down that red line and say, "Hey, that's disrespectful, and if you're going to disrespect me, I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not going to be around you. I'm not going to interact with you on any level. We're not on good terms." And you've got to explain that to her. Okay? But explaining that to her in the same way that I just explained that to you, without emotion, to a woman is absolutely nerve-wracking. It they can't comprehend. That's what I mean by feeling your strength. If your wife is disrespectful to you and you say, hey, that was disrespectful, and I'm not going to tolerate disrespect from you or anybody else. And when you disrespect me, I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not going to touch you. I'm not going to eat your food. I'm not going to have anything to do with you. We'll communicate as far as, dealing with the children, and that's it. Whatever's necessary for conducting business in the household, that's it. Other than that, I have nothing to do with you until you repent. Do you see what just happened there? That's Hosea 5:15. Okay? And you state it just like that. You do it in a very calm, because in their mind, what she begins to feel is though you don't care, because you're able to say that so calmly. You're not angry, you're not yelling and screaming, you're not crying, whatever it is. Do you see the power in that to a woman who is an emotional creature, to see her husband stay calm, cool, collected, and say, hey, I'm not going to tolerate that. Hosea 5:15, I'm going to go back to my place, which is in the basement, wherever it is you go do your thing. I'm not going to sleep with you. I'm not going to eat with you. I'm not going to talk to you. There's no huggy kissy. There's no nothing. To a woman, a man that's able to communicate that in a way that is not emotional, very matter of fact, very calm, to her, she can feel your power. Okay. You can say all kinds of things to a woman, but she has to feel. You show her with your actions. Just like Hosea 5:15, I'm gonna go back to my place when you're tired of, when you realize you've sinned and you don't like the distance between us, you're gonna come find me again. Okay? That's Doing that is so powerful, because in her mind, she's like, wow, he just stayed calm. Like, when you show emotion, it shows that you care. It shows that you're invested. It shows that you're still crazy about her, because only a person who's crazy about another person would lose their mind over somebody and go completely emotionally batshit. Okay, that's the truth. And so when you get upset at her and you blow up and you get all upset, you're just confirming in her mind that she's got you. You need her. You're dependent on her. That's what it shows her. But when you don't, and you show that ability to restrain and to be indifferent, that drives them nuts, drives them absolutely nuts when they cannot get a response out of you. It makes them feel stuff, makes them feel things. And that's what she wants. She wants to feel things. So, um, guys, you have to learn that masculinity it's not, it is meekness is the best way I can describe masculinity in its entirety is power under restraint. But the thing is, if power is necessary, then it is to be used in a very calm manner. Discipline. The root of the word disciple is discipline, and disciple have the same root there. Okay. Your job is to create a spotless and blameless bride. Ephesians 5. You do that through correction, instruction, and reproof. The word nourishment there is to train up. Okay. These, in the scope of things, what he's saying here is dark masculinity is the ability to be the more dangerous guy, to be the guy. When I say dangerous, I mean the guy who doesn't put up with anything, the guy who doesn't tolerate disrespect. Now, on the other hand, you also have to be the guy that your wife is going to do little dumb things that aren't necessarily disrespectful at all to try and get a rise out of you. But seeing that it doesn't bother you, seeing that it doesn't phase you is what's going to help create that attraction, that polarity that's necessary to make a long-term relationship, to make a marriage work. You have to have the dark masculine. The light masculine is the little church guy that is always smiling and shaking hands and never disagrees, always agreeable. And, honey, where do you want to go eat? Honey, what do you want to do? Honey, what do you want to do? Honey, what do you want to do? That's not attractive. So anyway, this guy's got some really good videos. Metellus, I believe. I've got some other ones that I want to share with you guys too, but this is a really good one. Figured you would like it. So we'll see you in the next one.